Can light actually impact your metabolism and your ability to lose weight? Well, if you had asked me that question about 4 years ago, I would have looked at you like you had four heads, not three, but four, and told you to get lost. But if you go back and look at the YouTube videos on this channel from about 4 years ago, I was clearly struggling with a nutrition only approach and just being very dogmatic about my food. Thankfully, I have been able to open my eyes and change things. And in that time period, I've discovered not only for myself, I'm the leanest that I've ever been in my mid 40s, which is wild, but I also have people all over the world who are implementing this information and having similar results. It's not just me. And I think that if we can really spread this information about light, we can start to revolutionize people's health. So I'm really passionate about doing that. And I hope that you're going to find this video very interesting. If you're new here, my name is Sarah. I am board certified in applied quantum biology by the American Naturopathic Medical Board. I'm also a certified nutrition coach with the National Academy of Sports Medicine and have completed Dr. Tom Cowan's new biology clinic. I've been working with clients for the past decade plus on lifestyle, nutrition, mindset, all the things in my coaching business. And I really, really love learning new things and studying how our metabolism and our bodies can shift and change in response to things like light and, of course, nutrition. So I never want to put across the information that you can just eat rubbish and eat whatever you want. And you can, as long as you have a good light environment, it's not going to matter what you eat. Nutrition's important. But I do want to really share this information about light because it's an easy change. And you'll see in today's video, some of the studies I'm going to show you that changing your light environment, something that simple, which is very low risk. I'm not asking you to ingest any supplements or take anything or even change your diet, but simply shifting your light environment can actually change your appetite. If you have an out of control appetite, changing your light environment and shifting it appropriately has been shown to help with appetite regulation. So if you're really struggling with this nutrition piece, I always have people start here because, again, it's very low risk, it's very easy, and it has a lot of scientific research to back it up. In fact, I posted about this on my Instagram page over the weekend, and I had somebody that was skeptical and said, well, these studies don't really mean anything. I can poke holes in them all day. And I just basically said, well, I'm not asking you to take any supplements or even change your diet. We're just talking about being strategic about your light exposure. So yeah, science studies, usually not the be all end all. They can give us information, but what I'm telling you is very low risk. It's a very low risk intervention and it can really create a big, big change. So let's start talking about light and what's optimal. We're going to talk in particular today about Lux. Now, if you didn't know, I have just come out with a brand new app that's going to help you to really understand light in your particular environment. So the new app is called My Circadian app. I will have a link to it and you can use my code Sarah K for a 3-week free trial on Android or a 1-month free trial on Apple. This will give you unlimited use of the Lux meter, which I'm going to talk at length about Lux today, something that a lot of people don't really understand or they have kind of a misrepresentation of Lux. They think it's a 10,000 Lux box that they just need to buy and that's going to solve all the issues. We're going to talk about why that is not so. But in the My Circadian app, you're going to have the ability to understand for you when sunrise, UVA, UVB, which is where we make vitamin D, sunset, nightfall, all of those things happen, as well as track moon phases, have a compass, and look at your Lux and measure that in your environment. So let's talk a little bit about Lux in nature. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a few things. I'll share my screen with all of you in this video to show you, again, the science and the data around what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and look at this chart of how Lux changes in nature. Then we'll get into some of the studies around what level of Lux has been shown to positively impact the metabolism. All right, so I'm going to have a lot of studies in the show notes for you if you want to just take a look at some of this yourself. But this is essentially a chart of how Lux changes in the course of a day. So Around sunrise, it is about 100 lux. Now, when I measure lux in my environment, I find that it's when daybreak happens, it's around 100. And then as the sun comes up, and I'm on the 33rd latitude. So the closer you are to the equator, the more lux you're going to have. It shouldn't be a crazy variance, but there is the lower that you go as far as latitude, the brighter that your environment will be. That makes sense, right? So here on the 33rd latitude in the morning when I'm outside around daybreak, I'm noticing that it's around 100 or so. And then when the sun starts coming up, it'll be around 800, 1,000. And then as we get closer and closer to UVA rise, then the lux will be sometimes 4,000, 5,000. When UVA comes online, it's around 10,000. But this essentially shows the intensity of the light, how it goes through the day. It says around 100,000 at noon, and close to the equator, again, around 500,000, and then declines afterwards in the same way it increased. So until it reaches around 0.001 lux at night without a moon. And just a note about the moon. I will go towards the end of this video talk about moonlight and lux, because a lot of people are very concerned that the moon is going to disrupt their circadian rhythm, which it will not. It's more likely the lights that are outdoors. That are the street lights, your neighbor's floodlights, those things will disrupt your circadian rhythm. The moon actually won't. It might seem very, very bright, but it is less than 1 lux. So it's not actually bright enough to disrupt circadian rhythm. So we'll get to lux at night and how that needs to be taken care of, measured, and made sure it's low in the evening towards the end of the video. Right now, in the beginning, we're going to talk again about lux and metabolism, and especially this piece about morning light and how this can positively impact your metabolism, some of those studies, some of that data. And one other thing I want to really reiterate here. All these studies were done with light boxes. And if you read through the studies, which I will put all of them in the show notes. So if you're one of those people that really likes to read further, understand these things on a deeper level, you'll see that in a lot of the studies, people did report side effects from the light boxes. It was headache. It was not feeling well. A couple people reported nausea. So there are a lot of reasons why I'm not going to recommend a light box as a substitution for just going outside. One of those is this, of course, that it will really impact your cortisol negatively. We want our cortisol to rise in the morning. We want that. But if you are just staring at a light box, it is full of unfiltered blue light. It is too bright for that time of day, as we just talked about, that time around sunrise, that time around when it's getting closer to UVA, it's gradually increasing. It won't get to 10,000 lux for most places until UVA has come online. So after the sun has been up 45 minutes, an hour or so, right? And so to blast yourself with a box like that when the sun is not even supposed to be up can not only alter your cortisol patterns, but it is not balanced with red and infrared. And those frequencies of light have metabolic implications. Those frequencies of light are crucial for creating subcellular melatonin in the mitochondria, creating cellular water in the body so that you have this charge of energy, which will also positively impact your metabolism. So, moral of the story at the end of the day, really, really important that you try to take some time to go outside. Now, I've had, since I released the My Circadian app, several people tell me, all I do is I take the app outside with me. I stick my head out the window and I measure the lux, and I'm getting, 10,000, 20,000 lux just by putting my head out the window. And so we think it has to be this all or nothing thing. Obviously, if you can go outside in the morning, that's going to be best, but don't underestimate the importance of just rolling down a window, opening a window, having a window that doesn't have glass to block it out. And how that can positively impact your metabolism, your mood, circadian rhythms, all of that stuff. All right, so I'll put timestamps in the show notes for anybody who doesn't want to hear me yabbering on, because I get so excited about these topics. But let me go ahead and share my screen again. We're going to talk about some of the studies about how lux, how brightness, how light can positively impact the metabolism and your body's ability to lose weight. Okay, so this study will be, of course, in the show notes if you want to read it and look at it for yourself. But essentially, this one called Bright Light for Weight Loss, it showed that 1300 lux in the morning and a morning bright light treatment was what helped participants to reduce body fat and appetite. And this was particularly in overweight women. So again, if you're struggling with the food and your appetite, going outside in the morning, 1300 lux is what was shown in this, which is available right around sunrise and during that first hour of the morning. That was shown to significantly reduce body fat and appetite in overweight women. So again, very simple, extremely, extremely low risk here. Here is another study, and it really talks about kind of your entire day. But what it really talks about is that it's important to have exposure to light at biologically appropriate times of the day and how this can influence weight positively and appetite positively, independent of sleep timing and durations. So this is really important to understand that it's essentially showing that timing your light, getting this intense bright light in the morning, like we would with sunlight, like we would with just going outdoors, and having your evening environment be dark enough, be dim enough, is going to positively impact your metabolism and your appetite. So this is where we would really want to get that morning sunlight. Make sure that you're not stuck behind glass, because indoors, the lux really maxes out at around 500 when you're inside. So that's something that a lot of people think. So for instance, I'm sitting here in my office. Let me pull my circadian app open and I'll measure. I do have bright lights in here. People will ding me about it and say, oh, you're teaching about light, but you're recording under blue light. Yes, I will go outside. I've been outside this morning for a good amount of time before I came down here. I will take breaks. I only record about one day a week and sometimes not at all. So, I know that people can't live perfectly. People have to go into offices. So if I was to have to sit down here all day, I'd be wearing blue blockers. I wouldn't be recording without it. So anyway, here we go. I've got my Lux meter open here with the My Circadian app. Let me go ahead and measure it. I'm going to hold it up to the studio light, and it says it's about 780 lux. So it is pretty darn bright. You usually max out between 500 and 1,000 with indoor lighting. Now, outdoors, it is about 10:45 in the morning. We have UVB available. The lux that is outdoors is probably 20,000, 30,000 at this point. And so I'm going to max out usually indoors 500, 1,000 if it's super, super bright. These are some pretty bright studio lights here. And that is going to negatively impact my metabolism. If I was to stay indoors under a super, super, quote unquote, dim light that is missing. It's also a pure blue light. It's missing red, it's missing infrared, it's missing UV, which all have hormonal and metabolic benefits as well. So light is multifaceted. This is another reason why you cannot just buy a light box and expect to get these metabolic benefits. You really need to be going outside, taking breaks to do that. All right, let's look at another study. All right, now this study has really a ton of information. It's not really a study, it's kind of an article where they've pulled together a lot of studies to really give you a lot of information. And this one really has a lot of interesting things in here about lux in particular and the timing of light in the day and at night. One of these things that's really interesting is that the timing of light exposure is associated with body weight independent of caloric intake. So essentially, like in that other study, it was showing that even if people don't change what they're eating, if they change the timing of their light in the day, getting enough brightness in the morning and at night getting enough dimness and darkness, that actually impacted the metabolism, BMI, and all of these things, appetite regulation, independent of how much food people were eating. So exposure to moderate levels of light at biologically appropriate times of day can influence weight, again, independent of sleep and timing duration. There are a few case studies within this kind of meta-analysis, this big article here. Let's talk about a few of them. So a case study of 4 overweight women, which I know it's only 4 women, but they were 4 overweight women between the ages of 46 and 54 years old, treated with 2-hour phototherapy at 1500 lux in the morning, right? So 1500 lux, right? You could just go outside and get 5000 lux, just get that amount of brightness. You don't even necessarily need to be out there for 2 hours. But after 10 days of that, they had weight loss and improved mood in 3 out of the 4 women. So that's pretty significant. In a randomized clinical trial among 34 overweight women aged 20 to 54 years old, a 45-minute light treatment of 1300 lux for 3 weeks. So again, you could go out for 20 minutes and get 5,000, 10,000 lux, whatever is available in your morning environment. Or if it's only 1300 lux, if it's a cloudy day, then you would stay out there for the 45 minutes. But regardless, they got 45 minutes, 1300 lux for 3 weeks, and they had a reduction in body fat, body mass, and appetite. All those 3 things were positively impacted. That was independent of diet, independent of changing any sort of things with their nutrition. And then here's another one, a laboratory controlled study among 25 overweight individuals and those with obesity undergoing 6 weeks of morning bright light treatment, so 5,000 lux. And this one they did combine with moderate exercise. They showed a significant reduction in body fat compared to exercise without light treatment. So just to sum that up, those that had the 5,000 lux had significantly improved appetite, metabolism, and more reduction in body fat than the people that did not get that light treatment. Moral of the story, morning sunlight's good for you. This same study or meta-analysis really also shows that light treatment of mood disorders to prevent depression, to prevent anxiety, it's around 2,500 lux that they're giving people that amount of lux in the morning to help stave off anxiety and depression. 2,500 lux, again, was also studied to show healthy metabolic improvements. Now, when we get to evening environment, and this is also in this whole entire meta-analysis, I'll stop sharing and just talk through it a little bit here. You can go and look through that there's so much interesting stuff in that article for you to take a look at, even talking about how the benefits of sunlight are not necessarily vitamin D, like everyone talks about. And we could talk all day about why that is, but infrared is a huge, huge thing that's impactful on metabolism, mitochondrial health, red light, all these other frequencies, UV light, and what that does to the brain, serotonin production, dopamine production, all of these neurotransmitters or neurohormones that are made in sunlight, essentially. So you can't get that from a light box. I want to just continue to reiterate that. But in the evening, it has been shown that the 3 hours leading up to bedtime, you want your evening environment to be 10 lux and below to create melatonin, pineal melatonin. So not only do we need to block the blue and green light, which we talk a lot about in the circadian world, the blocking blue light after sunset. And then if you're going to be indoors, like I am under this bright light, to wear something like yellow blue blockers. If you can't take breaks, if you can't use iris, if it's just nonstop all day long. But in the evening, it has been shown for positive metabolic benefits. If your goal is to impact your metabolism and longevity positively, you want that environment, your evening environment, the 3 hours leading up to bed, to be 10 lux and below. And then you want your sleeping environment to be 1 lux and below. So this is, again, where I use the My Circadian app, and I love using that lux meter to just test it out. Like if I want to go take a nice warm bath and just relax, I will always measure in my bathroom to see what is the lux in here. I don't use light bulbs that emit blue or green light after sunset. I usually will put my red light therapy panel on the infrared setting on the floor. And then my bathtub measurement is usually around 6 lux. If you're traveling, if you're going somewhere, it can be helpful to measure to see your hotel or wherever you're staying is in that low lux, and blue blockers can also be helpful. I will occasionally watch television And so I like to measure to make sure that I'm, of course, blocking out blue light. So I'll wear blue blockers, but I'll put the blue blockers over the lens of my camera here and measure the lux of the TV to make sure it's under a 10 if I'm going to be watching TV. And I also cover up my skin with a blanket because we have photoreceptors on the skin as well. So just to review, and we'll pull up a couple of studies here so you can look through this yourself. Evening environment, 3 hours leading up to bed, block the blue and green light. So get a good pair of blue blockers. I'll put my product guide in the show notes for you. And also enough dimness. So you can put your body right up close to a red light therapy panel. I've measured my red light therapy panel at night and it has gone up to 10,000, 12,000 lux. You don't want that at night. That's not going to be biologically appropriate, and it can suppress your pineal melatonin production. So that's really, really important to understand. So again, if you want to look at this, study this a little bit deeper, here are a couple studies for you. This is showing this study here, ambient light exposure and changes in obesity parameters, is essentially showing nighttime or evening exposure to high intensity light was significantly associated with weight gain, and morning exposure to a longer time of light was significantly, so bright light exposure in the morning over 500 lux, which is obviously you got to go outside to get that in most cases. It was significantly associated with weight loss. So you can go and look through the study yourself. Here is another one that gives you the recommendations for daytime, evening, and nighttime indoor light exposure to best support physiology, sleep, wakefulness, and in healthy adults. So this is again talking about that lux exposure at night, how we want it to be nice and low, nice and dim. And then in the morning, we want it to be nice and bright. Reiterating, you can't get this from a light box. You're going to be missing out on a lot of key things that your brain needs in order to run hormonal functions, metabolic functions of your body. All right, let's talk about the moon, because a lot of people really freak out about the moon, and we don't necessarily need to freak out about the moon. All right, so this study is in our show notes as well. How bright is moonlight? Let's see. Even on a full moon, the lux is less than 1. Let's see if I can find this here. I had it highlighted and then here we go. It's a maximum of 0.3 lux with a full moon. Okay, so less than 1. What did I say about your evening sleep environment? We wanted a 1 and below. So here again is showing that even on a full moon, bright moon, the max lux is a 0.3, so less than 1. So it's not going to disrupt your circadian rhythm, but more than likely those really bright, obnoxious street lights, your neighbor's floodlight, the light pollution from your city will. So a nice pair of blackout curtains or an eye mask, or both, I actually do both, will be really helpful in ensuring that your bedroom is dim enough so that you can really protect your metabolic and hormonal functions. All right, so I hope that was very helpful. It's probably more information than you actually wanted to know, but I do think that understanding circadian biology, light, and how our hormones, our metabolism, and all these things are impacted could really go a long way. And if you study the information about light at night and hormonal and metabolic cancers, all you have to do is go into PubMed and just type in hormonal cancers, artificial light at night. The research is vast, and we're in October. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're still not having a very out in the open conversation about the impact of artificial light at night and things like breast cancer, things like thyroid cancer, things like prostate cancer. They're heavily correlated with artificial light at night. And what most people are doing in the evening is very disruptive to the metabolism, very disruptive to the hormones, because they're looking at their phones in the evening. They've got a TV on. They're not wearing blue blockers. They've got a bunch of overhead lights on, and they just don't know. People don't know this information, and it is definitely negatively impacting them. Now, you can, if you would like to just see what the lux is in your environment, download the My Circadian app. I'll put a link in the show notes for you, and get a 3 free week trial on Android or a 1-month trial on Apple. That will give you unlimited use of the lux meter. You can get the free version of the app, and you get 1 use of the lux meter per day. But with the unlimited version, you can use it as many times as you want and just see, oh, it's the middle of the day. How bright is it? And on a cloudy, rainy day, that's a lot of times you get tricked and you think, oh, it's just so gross outside. I just, it's not even worth going outside. And I've shocked myself many times on these rainy, cloudy days to see it can get as bright as 10,000 lux. Now, I am on the 33rd latitude. So if you're way up north on the 50th latitude or further up, it may not get to 10,000, but you'll probably get around 2,500, 1,000, enough for your brain, your metabolism, your hormones to get the signal that they need. So don't let it deter you when it is that kind of nasty gray weather from going outside and getting those metabolic benefits. Make sure that your evening environment is dim enough and your sleeping environment is dim enough. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure to check out all those links in the show notes, and I will see you in the next video.